All right, and now I'd like to bring up Festival Director Erin and James Murray.
Hi. Thank you guys, just to reiterate what Mike and Laura said, thank you for coming out. We're thrilled to have so many people here on Fat Tuesday. I get the privilege of interviewing our very special guest of honor, James Murray, who, in addition to his lengthy resume, which I will give you a sample of, also holds the distinction of being the first artist to ever sell a show out of the NYTVF in 2005, which was our first year. So, so I'm just going to give this little spiel because it's quite impressive. James is the Senior Vice President of Development for NorthSouth Productions, where he develops and pitches reality TV programs to all networks. He has produced shows for truTV, A&E, Spike TV, MTV, TLC, ABC, CMT, Speed, Fuse, Discovery, and the Military Channel, and even more. He's currently executive producing and starring in the hit comedy series Impractical Jokers on truTV, along with his comedy troupe, The Tenderloins, who have also been in the festival. So please welcome, join me in welcoming James. So as I mentioned, you hold this unique distinction with the NYTVF that we're very proud of.
I love the TV festival.
We love you. So this was in 2005. The network was A&E. I'm sure you'll tell us a little bit about it. But, you know, it's now 7 years later. Tell us a little bit about the evolution and how the landscape has changed from that first experience.
In 2005, I'd say that the TV festival was an experiment almost. You know, I don't think the networks necessarily knew what to expect from going to this event. It was really well organized, but there are so many more opportunities now that weren't there in 2005 just because it was so brand new. That being said, it still worked, and I think that is a testament to what you guys have created, is that you've created a marketplace for independent television that never was there before. For years there's been an independent film market, but there was no opportunity for an independent television maker to get his or her material seen by networks. If you didn't have an agent, you couldn't get in, you couldn't submit a pilot, you couldn't get a pitch meeting, so there was really no opportunity for that, or you needed some kind of connection, and the TV festival opened that door. I think networks didn't know what to expect. I remember that first year at the festival, I had like 3 or 4 networks came up to me directly because they had seen my pilot and were interested in it. And that blew my mind. You know, you don't think that would actually happen at an event like that, and it did. And I got pitch meetings out of it, and then I ended up selling the show to A&E. And then now, seeing the festival 7 years later, I was in a fortunate position last year to. Somebody had clued me in that there was a pilot in the festival that was really good that I should check out, given my position at NorthSouth and what my company looks for in reality. So I went and I checked out the pilot, and I thought it was great. So now it's mainstream. Now all the networks are there. They were always there, but now they're willing to buy. They're willing to give development deals. All the production companies are there as well, which is a new thing too. Because I went as a production company member and saw a pilot that I liked, so I tried. I optioned it before a network could get it or before another production company could get it, because I wanted to shape it a little bit further, develop the idea more, and then we ended up selling it. That was a pilot that went to series on Speed last year called Hard Parts. It was Frank Mosca from the TV festival had a great pilot, found really interesting characters in a great world, so we took it, developed it further, and were able to sell it, and it was on the air last year. So I think the festival has come full circle. I mean, now it's completely mainstream. It felt a little bit edgier back then, a little more dangerous. Now I'm very jealous of the opportunities.
We've lost our edge. So I want to talk a little bit about development. That's why we're here. Obviously, you have this sort of broad range of expertise, both in developing shows for you and around your people, as well as developing shows for a production company. So talk to us a little bit about, in the broader sense of non-scripted programming, which is your focus, what the development system looks like and how you, as a development executive at a production company, look for ideas, look for characters, and what might be some good insights for an independent producer to know when they're, when they're looking for their subjects to create pilots around for this year's festival?
Well, the development process at a production company is a race. It really is a race against all of your competitors that are looking for the exact same thing. There's no one idea that's original. We all have the same ideas. It's just a race to see who can package it and sell it first before competitors. So the way we look for ideas is, I'd say maybe 75% of what we go out with is developed internally among our development team. And our development team is maybe a dozen folks or so that work full-time for the company. And it'll work its way up. So for pitching at NorthSouth, I usually do most of the pitching when I'm not in production on Impractical Jokers. And then usually the executive that develops an idea will pitch it up internally and work its way up to the owners of the company who give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It's very rare that we all agree on an idea, but I think from a production company standpoint, the difference between production development at production companies and at networks is that production company rewards entrepreneurship, for sure, and rewards aggression and ambition. So for me, if I'm passionate about an idea, I won't necessarily look for the entire team's approval. I'll pitch it to them and see what they think. Excuse me, I keep popping my P's. But I'll pitch it internally to see what folks think and to help develop it and refine it further. That being said, if I'm really passionate about something, I will just go out and I'll push it forward and I'll shoot a tape on it and develop the idea further and then go out and pitch it. So I'd say maybe 75% of the ideas we develop are internally generated. And where do we come up with the ideas internally? I'd say it's a combination of what's going on in pop culture, the zeitgeist, what shows are hitting on the air right now. A large chunk of it is network intel, because what you see on TV is not necessarily what networks are looking for now, it's what they were looking for a year ago, or 2 years ago, or however long it took them to greenlight that series. But if it's popping on TV now, you can be sure that there's a lot of competitor networks that are looking for what their spin on that idea is. What's the male version of that idea for Spike? What is the all-female version for Lifetime? What is the early 20-something-year-old female version for MTV, or so on and so forth? So that's a lot of what we do in the development too, is we look at what's popping, or what networks are jealous of other shows, and see how we can spin it or find those characters for that particular network. And then we'll go out and hunt for those characters, we'll hunt for those worlds, we'll develop formats internally and pitch them to networks. And maybe I'd say a quarter of the ideas that we go out with are independently generated from outside sources. And that could be somebody, an independent producer comes in, pitches us an idea, has access to a really interesting world or characters, or just has a new twist in a format that I haven't heard, a great hook. Usually has tape that accompanies that idea, and then we'll grab it, we'll option the idea from them, develop it further, invest money in it, and then go out and pitch it to networks using our connections, the power of our reputation, our agency, and so on and so forth. And I'd say most shows come in now with tape, on average. It's hard for an independent producer to think of something that a production company hasn't already, because we meet with the networks every day. We pitch networks every single week, and we're on the phone with them, and we're having drinks with them, and dinner with them, and what have you. So the intel happens so quickly that when you're on the outside, it is difficult, admittedly. I had a producer that came into the office this week, with a great thing. I thought there was a great approach. He came in with a DVD that had like 20 different talent on the DVD. That he had found these great talent in 20 different genres entirely, really different worlds, and he locked those characters to him as a producer. So he optioned he optioned them as characters for 6, 9 months, 12 months, whatever his deal is, and he's going out to production companies with access to those characters. So I can't cut him out of the loop. He brings me the most valuable resource in at least the non-scripted TV, which is interesting characters and interesting worlds. Most of them we've thought of, and I just know weren't sellable worlds at this point in TV, but a couple really hit. And I thought that was a really novel approach to go into a pitch meeting with. He comes in, instead of coming in with a full sales tape, he comes in with characters. This is what I've got. and knowing that we will take those characters and develop a format around them and go out and shoot a proper sales tape around them, I thought that was a great way, as an independent producer, to pitch production companies.
Talk a little bit about that process that you just mentioned. Identifying the character, but also building the format or the show around them. Because I think that that's one thing we see a lot of at the festival, where someone will have identified this really interesting world. Obviously, you guys watch TV, you see that's the future of non-scripted, right? Any of the networks that we mentioned that James works with, a lot of their non-scripted program is this character-based format genre. So what are the steps necessary, or what separates just a really good character or a really good world from actually being a viable show? What are those sort of format creation steps that your level of expertise, obviously you're used to doing this, but what are some pieces of advice that you could offer to an independent producer just to bulk up that process?
Well, the key word is process, for sure. When somebody comes in with a great character, you could pitch the show as a pure docuseries or docu-soap, like The Real Housewives or something like that, which have no real format to it, as opposed to a reality show that's highly formatted, like Say Yes to the Dress, or even, for that matter, Impractical Jokers is a highly formatted show. There's a process, a routine that happens every episode, and the audience likes that, and they come back to watch that format, and they love the characters. And eventually, shows like that, the character wins the day and takes over the format.
Right.
The character becomes more important than the format, but you need that device for the audience to latch onto and to watch and expect each episode before you break those rules.
So this is what happens in the cold open. This is what you're going to get to before the second commercial break, and sort of have those. It's like a recipe, right? Like most episodes follow this trajectory.
Exactly. Now, when a character comes in or a producer brings in a character, I'm always a little weary about a pure docu-soap or docu-series, because it is hard to sell a show like that. The tapes cost more to produce. You're putting a lot of weight on. You're hoping that the character or characters are strong enough to carry an entire show without the help of some kind of process. Think of Cake Boss, right? There's a process. The audience knows we're going to get to see 3 freaking amazing cakes made this episode, no matter what. And they like Buddy and they like the cast, so that's just gravy. And eventually the characters are more important than the process, but they need the process at first to fall in love with the characters. So when a pure docu-soap comes into the door, it's a great character wins the day, for sure, but it's always harder as a development executive to, I'm always looking for what's the angle, what's the layer I can add onto it that the audience will latch onto, that we can do week after week after week. So in the case of using the example of Hard Parts from last year, Frank found this great character in a crazy world in the South Bronx. It was an auto parts store. And the lead guy, the owner of the store, was literally a huge character. He was about 400 pounds, big Italian guy, loud, crazy, unfiltered character. Says whatever is on the top, anything he wants. And the people that worked with him are the same way. It's a handshake business, it's all ego, machismo, great world. It's like a Martian, it's like a foreign planet. You don't know where you are in this world. So I loved that, but the original tape was a pure docu-soap, which is really hard, So what we did was we added a format layer onto it. We said, okay, each episode, they're going to track down 3 impossible to find parts, and that take them out of the shop. It expands the world, and the audience knows I'm going to get to see a 1967 blah blah blah. I'm going to get to see cool classic cars, really hard to find parts, and a lot of cool process, right? Whether the process be a wedding cake, whether it be an auto part, or what have you, it's still a cool wow factor, takeaway, if you will, from the episode. That layer makes the show more sellable for a network. So that's what we look for. We look for great characters and usually some kind of format device we can add on to it. And we don't necessarily expect an independent producer to know what format devices to add. That's, I think, what the expertise that a production company adds to your project is in that development phase when they take on your idea, is they will, if they're a good company, they will know what's the most sellable format and what layers need to be added to your character, what hook we need to play to make it sellable.